Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. It's a new year, it's a new month, it's a new start. Things all about new. Welcome to Quilting Unscripted, where we get to chat with friends about all things quilting. Hello, Lynn.
Hi, Carla.
Long time no see, Lynn.
That's right. It's been a while. So, yes, it is just a happy new year for everybody. 2026 is going to be a lot of fun. And we're kind of here to start chatting about what's happening.
I've got a list.
I got a list. So
we've always got lists, Lynn.
Yeah.
That's
both Carla and I, yeah, we're list peoples.
We're list people.
Yeah. So I had the fortunate opportunity that I've been on vacation since the first of the year, and had a great vacation. And I highly recommend that for a fresh start, a new outlook on life, on whatever it is that you're working on, that you take a break, you kind of let it go, take a break, get some sunshine, get some warm air, see the blue colors of the ocean, and some wildlife, and just relax. So I did that for 17 days on a cruise. I left LA just after the first of the year and headed down to Mexico, and then on to Costa Rica, and then to Panama. And I got to tell you, going through the Panama Canal on a big boat and being an engineer was really cool. So we also saw a lot of wildlife on this trip. So lots of different animals, from the iridescent gecko lizards to monkeys and sea turtles. So it was really fun. We got to Aruba, which somebody else will talk about that later, but it was absolutely wonderful island. I learned a lot about it and had a great time. And then we slowly sailed back into Florida, and got into Florida just as Winter Storm Fern was making an appearance. So I left Florida on Saturday afternoon and was lucky to arrive back into Boston and make it back to Vermont before all chaos really broke loose for everybody who was trying to travel. So I feel fortunate about that. Not so fortunate to return home to -3 and then the big snowstorm behind it, but I had a great vacation and I have a whole new outlook. So it's all about fresh starts.
Every time it snowed. So up here in Northern Ontario, it snowed, and then it snowed, and it snowed, and then it got cold. It got really cold. Oh, baby, it got cold outside. Yeah. So, I'd get up in the morning and see the blowing snow and think bad thoughts about Lynn, going, hope she gets a sunburn.
And what would she do? She would send me a picture of that, and then I would send her a picture back of nice aqua blue waves or a sunrise. Yeah.
Yeah. Life with friends, right? Life with friends. So yeah, it's been a bit of a kicker winter. I think over the last couple of years, we've gotten a little bit spoiled. They haven't been so bad. My husband, I don't know about yours, but mine often complains in the summer about mowing. The grass is long. I got to mow the grass again. And so every morning when we'd get up and you'd see the blowing snow and he'd go, I have to shovel. And I'd say, yes. And I don't want to hear you have to moan about cutting the grass, because that only happens once a week, not every day. So yeah, it's been winter. So we're all getting a little stir crazy. Lynn went on her holiday. I have Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, 4 more sleeps, and my feet will be in the sand and the blue and the flower colors, and I'll peel off my 3 layers of shirts. So yeah, really looking forward to just the eye candy. I think that's what it is, Lynn.
Yeah, it's greens, the blues, the greens, the bright, oranges and yellows and purples of all of the. I mean, I've never seen so many blooms and really large bougainvilleas. I've never seen them like this, and it was really pretty. So yeah.
In my newsletters, I've often talked about, we all have these phone things now. We walk around with these, take it with you, snap pictures of the flowers, the multi-greens, even just the lush green background, because, coming into winter, we lived through October with that whole splash of color of the golds and the reds and the browns. And then winter sets in. And you're limited. You're white, you're black, you're gray. You've got those bluey, glistening colors a little bit, but it's pretty dull. And so after you've lived through the excitement of the winter and you start heading into the end of January, and for us, we've still got all of February and unfortunately sometimes all of March, and you're just yearning for that color. And in the meantime, we're supposed to be quilting, right? So you start off in the fall thinking about flannel quilts and darker colors and fireplaces and cozying up by the fire. And by the middle of January, you're like, okay, let's pull out the seed catalog. Let's take a look at some flowers. So if you're happening to go off on a trip somewhere where there isn't an abundance of snow, because I do know that we have the skiers out there and the snowmobilers, even those guys, you catch different angles of light, but grab that camera and take some of those pictures. I know when I scroll back, over the years of, luckily being able to go away to someplace warm, I just take pictures of flowers, just for that inspiration of, I wonder what color I should pick now. So, thus the quilt behind me.
Right.
Yes, it's time. It's time to think spring colors.
Yeah. So, I truly, think that a lot of people think about January as a new start, but they think of it as more of a resolution kind of month for a lot of people. I don't know if you guys have made a resolution, but I'm not going to tell you what my resolutions are. But one of the things that I do in January, and I know it's kind of weird, but we've just gone through fall, and you have had, your quilts are out that are your more fall-based quilts. Some of them are flannels. We have the flannel, your special blues and greens and red flannel patchwork quilts. And then you have your winter quilts, which are the blues and the grays and the glistening kind of things. They're truly winter. They depict the winter environment for us. And we just went through the holidays. So sometimes people have holiday quilts out. Well, shortly after the first of the year, I wrap most of that up and I start bringing out the spring quilts, because as we go through January, the days do get to be a little bit longer. So we get a little bit more sunlight. And tomorrow.
Only by seconds.
Well, I know, but it's starting to be better. And tomorrow is theoretically the coldest day of the year for where I live by data. So we're about ready to hit the coldest point. The days are getting longer, and I just prematurely launch myself into spring, both inside my house and in my quilting world. And I bring quilts out like the one behind me, which is the tulip quilt, so that it reminds me that there is, life after January. After the snow and the cold of January, there's another life out there, and the other thing that I do is I start thinking about a spring project. So I'm going to have this guy right here. So spring. And so I'm teaching quite a few series of the Posh Holiday classes this year. I've been while I'm on the road. And so I have just picked a bunch of fabrics, and I'm going to show you them. So here's some of my greens. And here's some of my teals.
Lynn, I just picked up a whole pile of fabrics for the umbrella quilt.
And look at these. So I am really excited. It's my spring kind of, my resolution is to launch myself into spring and to bring those colors in and be happy every day. And instead of thinking about, yes, I had to move the 14 inches of snow and I had to shovel again today. I do have to do that, but I can come back inside and I can immerse myself in this wonderful spring little project, or see a little spring table runner on the table.
Talking. I'll be right back. I have something to show you.
Yeah, so I think Carla's going to make the same quilt. But I just really love using the opportunity of the time where we are inside more to go and get some of these things going, you know. And this way, come a couple of weeks from now, when we do start winding up winter, you got a new spring project done. So yeah. So
when you held up your fabric, Lynn, you had what I want to call yardage, whatever. And sometimes, now I'm coming from a country stash from my previous house and starting to build up like that more brights, more happy, light, airy fabric. So when I looked at the spring umbrella pattern, which I really want to do, I'm looking at my stash going, oh, I don't know. And I stumbled upon, because one of the things that's cool is in that pattern, they don't use big pieces. You don't need big pieces.
No.
So I picked up a layer cake. Okay.
Nice.
So the layer cake has blues, greens, yellows. So there's enough greens in there that I could probably supplement with what I have in my stash. But the flowers, the umbrella, the whole thing. So keep that in mind sometimes when you've got those kind projects on you. You don't have to go out and buy a ton of yardage. You can pick up a layer cake, and some of these 10-inch squares that I'm not going to use, you can cut them into smaller squares, make a bag. They're so totally useful. So
we got Doreen's on. Hi, Doreen. I missed the guild because I was sailing on the boat. So hope all is well with you. So
now we'll start again.
Okay.
The quilt that is behind me not only is spring, but a couple weeks ago, I had the honor of being requested to send a lot of my quilts across country to Sherwood Park, Alberta, which is just outside of Edmonton, to a lovely quilt shop. And I am going to don her doorstep someday, because when I watch her online videos, Lori's Country Cupboard, that quilt shop, when she does her online stuff, looks amazing. So I'd have to ditch the husband and spend the whole day there, because every time she does a different shot, I'm like, oh, look at that corner. Oh, I want to go in that corner. At any rate, she requested 7 or 8 of my quilts. And so they are down there for a trunk show with the patterns. So if you're in and about Edmonton, Sherwood Park, Lori's Country Cottage, go stop by, do some shopping, grab some girlfriends. The quilt that's behind me was awfully big to ship. So I had previously made a little topper out of one of the blocks. So one of the blocks I sent along with the pattern for this quilt. So if you're interested and you're cross country, take a pop in there, do some shopping, say hi to the girls for me. Hello, everybody in Edmonton. It's fun.
Yes. So the challenge for you guys is for you to go into your studio and find something bright and cheery to work on. If you're feeling like overwhelmed, or the January blues, or just go in there, pull out some bright fabrics, make a few blocks, put it into a table runner, and you can just remember that it's your January springing forward table runner every time you see it. So
yeah. So Lynn, you talked about resolutions. I don't do resolutions, only because I don't know. I make them, and 2 months later, they're gone.
Yeah.
For many years, I posted a word of the year, with probably a lot of the same effects. I pull some graphics out and make a poster and hang it in somewhere in the studio. It would be like consistency, or a word that says reuse, a mantra word that has you going in the direction for the year that you want to, or doing something that you want to do. So there's all kinds of different ways that we can incorporate some of these thoughts into what we do creatively. I think this year, my goal is not to feel so anxiously behind constantly. So Lynn knows, because
that's a really good goal.
And I called her right away and said, okay, I'm working on this. And Lynn says, you don't need to have that like till middle of February. And it's like, nope, doing the legwork now. So when I come back from holidays, boom, it's the whole list will hit me and I'll be frenzied again. So,
you know, it's hard, and sometimes it's really hard in our world because we're self-employed and we choose our direction and choose how hard we want to go towards that direction. And sometimes
I don't know if I choose it.
Well, some of the things we don't choose, they just come along with the package.
My mother would say, careful what you wish for.
Right, exactly. And it can be overwhelming at times, and finding the balance between, you know, being able to go on a break like I did, as well as, you know, work hard and then take other breaks, but, you know, and schedule it out, still have time with family, still get, you know, but it's sometimes it just seems like we get these bursts of times where we are behind. And it does make you anxious. So, you know, I can appreciate, as I was with Carla yesterday for a bit, you know, taking a break from moving snow while we were hashing out some of her conundrums with what she was working on. And I can appreciate her driving to be way ahead of the schedule. I can totally appreciate it, because I'm feeling, you know, I came back from vacation, and with a couple of unexpected things happening, you know, it puts that long list of stuff that I have just sort of behind the 8 ball. But
well, and you know, Lynn, you don't have to be you or I to feel a little bit of that quilting pressure, because I know sometimes, you know, in the studio, I'll get a call, somebody's having a problem because they're making a baby quilt. We've got 9 months to make the baby quilt, and then all of a sudden
the baby's born.
And it's like, oh dear, or the wedding, and you get so wrapped up with maybe, you know, wedding planning or whatever. All of a sudden you realize that you've got a queen size quilt that's got to be produced in X number of, anyway. It's c'est la vie, right? That's what they say.
I mean, it happens in everybody's world. Well,
and you know, we talked earlier before you left. And Christmas is one of those things that we all just went through. And it took me a good week and a half to get, just after the kids all left, and you sort of put the knives where they live and the forks, and, you know, where's my spatula? And so you had to give yourself a couple of days just to reset, reorganize, and that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to reading. I don't know about you, and I've talked to a lot of my quilters out there. When I'm in work mode, which is probably, you know, 11 and a half months out of the year, I find allowing my brain to read a novel is really, really difficult. So I'm looking forward to just and getting my teeth into my books that I've picked up over the last year that I really want to read. So if you've read any cool books out there, drop them off in the comments, because that's one of the things as quilter groups we do. We like to pass on our favorites always. And speaking of favorites, you picked up a new notion you like, but it's not really a notion.
It's not really a notion. It's a gadget. So it's my gadget. I've had it for a while, but I've used it both in the quilting world and both in my recreational travel world. Okay. So, and how I used it in the quilting world, allowed me to purchase all those wonderful bright fabrics or notions, new notions, while I was on the road. So it's a scale for your luggage. Okay. So here's the skinny. Before I go off and teach or go to a quilt show and I'm traveling on an airplane, the weight's a big deal, right? So what I do is I try and plan the least heavy outfits. So I have the least amount of weight in my suitcase going out. And then when I have this thing, it looks like this. Okay. When I'm out there, I can absolutely pack as much of the fabric right up to the gills and all the other stuff so that I'm just at 50 pounds. Okay. When they take ownership of that suitcase coming back. Okay. Yeah, I have had a couple of carry-on bags that weighed about 25 pounds at times, but but having this scale makes all the difference in the world, because you can go out and you say, okay, well, I can probably carry 20 pounds back and I only have 17 pounds in my suitcase, so I can only buy that much fabric. So after the first day of purchasing, or notions or whatever, right, or gifts for people, I was on vacation.
Things like you finally find that quilt book that you've always been looking for. Books are heavy. Ask me, yeah. I know, because I'm packing for our holiday on Friday. We're leaving, and I'm looking at the book going, wasn't out in soft cover yet, and the hardcover weighs a ton.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of my, a gadget I've used before in the quilting world, and I just recently used it on this last travel. So yeah, so I wanted to share that with you, that if you're a traveler and you don't have one of those, they're just worth the few dollars they cost.
They're worth their weight in fabric.
Oh, you're killing me. Yeah, so that's a little gadget thing for tonight.
Okay, well, I pulled a gadget. Lynn and I both teach, so we see all kinds of things, and I guess I balance on the edge of ergonomics constantly. And in the studio or when I'm teaching, often, you want to clip those threads, you pull them off your machine, you clip them, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of the quilters are carrying around these humongous pair of scissors, which are great. But I have 3 pairs of large fabric scissors that I can probably say I haven't touched in several months, because I no longer cut fabric, but I do cut threads constantly. And for me, what I personally like is to have these little scissors that are handy right beside my machine, so that thread snips, if I need to clip something, they're there. So one of our local distributors found this Canadian company called LDH, and they came up with, and these are this, okay, I got to hold it in front of me. These are the thread snips. So they're about half the size of my hand, about an inch blade. So you could definitely tuck this in your suitcase if you're going and you want to do some applique or wool embroidery or EPPs on the plane. They'll allow these on the plane, but they're spring loaded. So they're just snip, snip, and away you go. So for a lot of long armors, we use it to cut threads. They're handy. And here's the thing. They're really inexpensive. I think retail, $5 or less. And they're nice and sharp. Never forget, you're only clipping threads with them. So I love those. And I also picked up from the same company, LDH scissors. Aren't these just the coolest things? The blade on this is probably about 2 inches, but they've got these really good handles. I like it because it's, me and my bling. I like my bling. So you got to have bling out your sewing machine every once in a while. But again, very nice and sharp. So just good for snipping, cutting, without having those really big, heavy scissors by your sewing machine all the time. So watch for those at your local quilt shop. They're relatively new in the last 6 months or so. A lot of the quilt shops, I've seen them now out on their by their cache, and so on. So Fun things to look forward to.
Yep, fun things.
I don't think up here we're going to be doing a lot of girl trips for a while. The driving is still really funky. Yeah, but it's coming. March, you'll see them all start to twitch and want to go for a bit of a car ride. Go check out what's new at the shops in and about the area. So what's on your docket coming up, Lynn, for the next?
Well, even though I was on vacation, my friends at AQS were hard at work launching Quilt Week for Paducah. And I'm teaching there, and general registration opened on January 20th. And all but one of my classes are sold out. So I'm very pleased with what's happening there. And that's in April 22nd through the 25th. So that's super exciting to be on vacation, taking a break, wondering whether, I should be taking a break or I should be back, doing some.
That's work. Right after our cruise.
Yeah. So I really feel fortunate about that. And then the next thing is that in 12 days, I host that big retreat on Cape Cod. So 135 quilters. So we're in the throes of making the final edits to the last email mailing going out to those 135 quilters before we receive them in the day after Super Bowl. So I'll be headed down there on Super Bowl Sunday and be back on the 18th. So that's coming up. Saturday, I'm teaching a binding class, which is full at Middlebury, the Quilter's Corner. It's the basic binding class where I teach people how to size your binding, how to properly do your miters, how to really make a double folded miter or folded cornered flat. Okay, so the basics of your good sound fundamentals on bindings, how to join it without having to do math or pin or, be fussy, just straight up simple tasks to remember on how to do that. And then I'm teaching the binding where if you have a quilt that has a color change in the corner and it's on a diagonal, I'm actually going to have the only seams in the binding fabric in the corners and have it transition right out through the miter. So
I might have to come to your class.
Yeah. So that way, when you have small quilts, like under 40 inches, you just use strips on all four sides. You do a miter, just like a wide seam. But remember, you're doing a wide seam on the front, and then you have to bring it back and do it on the back. So there's a little trick to that. So we're going to do that as well. So that's on Saturday. So I'm working on preparing for that. And then the part 2 of that, which is advanced bindings, will be at end of February. So
there you go.
At the thing. Yeah. And design in February is, as Carla said, Island Batique's next design submission. So there is not.
It'll be nose to the grindstone and trying to dig up your creative juices and come up with a quilt for the next round.
That's right. And Carla is winning this race.
I got a jump start.
You do.
Lynn unplugged when she
went
on her trip. She did not answer emails. I haven't quite given it a total thought yet. However, I am not available by phone. I'm not talking to you on holidays. If I keep checking my email, I probably will. For the only purpose that I launched at the beginning of January my Killarney retreat. So I think we sort of touched on it back in the beginning of January when we did our last live about Killarney Mountain Lodge. I taught there for 8 consecutive years back in the early 2000s, before quilt retreats were, very popular up here. And I did that with a couple of my buddies, and it was lots of fun. And, since the pandemic, I haven't put on an actual workshop for learning purposes up here since before the pandemic. So I thought it was time that we introduced some quilting education to the north and made arrangements at Killarney Mountain Lodge to host myself as an instructor and all of you guys who want to come and spend some time with me. All the information. So a little bit different tonight. We have mine and Lynn's email address floating across the bottom of the screen. You can log on to my website. It'll be front and center, the Killarney poster, and you can click on the more details and find out the ins and outs about the where, what, why, when, how ordeal of the thing. But I'm pretty excited. I'm teaching Lumi, which is would have been last year's submission for Island Batik. Fabric comes out in March, April. I did order fabric from them to make Lumi, so I will be kitting it up. Not pre-cut, just fabric. So it'll get sent to you early so you can pre-cut it in advance. It's not a have to. It is an additional purchase, but the fabric is gorgeous. So looking forward to that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So for all of those of you who sent me an email or a message through my Etsy shop, it will take me the entire week to catch up with 3 weeks worth of I'm out and about with intermittent internet. And so just be patient. I am getting to them. So
yep.
I thank you in advance for your patience.
Yeah, sometimes it gets a little difficult for us to, we do both have Etsy stores that we ship stuff out to everybody. And it gets a little difficult when we want to go away to put things on pause. So we just muddle through and hopefully everybody understands. And
right.
It is what it is. I, however, am so looking forward to seeing the sunshine. Oh, Lynn and I were going to wear like these little fancy summer tops just to welcome spring kind of thing.
Right.
And about 6 o'clock, I texted her and I said, I'm not taking off my shirts and putting on a short sleeve anything. I'm freezing. So we're scrapping this idea. I'm cold.
Yeah, I was freezing as well and was thinking the very same thing, that was not a good idea. So it is pretty cold here. So
it is pretty cold.
Sometimes we're a little warmer than Carla, but I think we've been fairly close here in the last week or so.
Well, I get the snow and then I wait a few days and then Lynn phones and says, it's coming our way. So
yeah. So I have one more thing to show you guys. So I received a shipment today from Studio 180. And so in that is the brand new tool that they've launched. Okay, so I haven't even opened it up yet. So it's called a 9-patch square up. Oh, looks like this. It's a 2 ruler set. Oh, it's not focusing well. I think it's because of the sheen. But it's for 9 patches from 2 inches to 9 inches to make them a little oversized, and then they'll be perfect, just like that 4-patch square up where your horizontal and vertical seams are dead on.
Yep.
So I'm super excited to crack that baby open and start working with it. Yeah, see right there.
Right there. Yes. Well, and the pattern was written before the 9-patch. So, if you've got a pattern that you want to do that has 9 patches in it, and you're not really good at getting your 9 patches to be perfect, because it's you're even though we're sewing strips and sewing stratus together and matching seams, it's hard. So please remember, when you take a written pattern that is made for what I call the perfect world, and you want to adapt it to the Studio 180, don't pre-cut your fabric till you've read the ruler, because you're going to be cutting those strips a little bit larger, so that you have the maneuverability to turn around and square it up after. So always keep that in mind. If you're wanting to use the ruler, read the instructions of the cutting. and the cutting ahead of time, so that you don't run into the problem of saying, oh, I want to square it up, but then you cut all your strips a little bit too narrow. So that's one of those deals. And I myself, I know that, yes, Lumi has 4 patches in the corner, but I didn't write it for the 4-patch ruler. So if you want to square up the 4 patches in, say, Lumi, don't cut those 4-patch strips till you've read the size to cut the strips in the ruler. Always one of those good tips to remember.
Yeah. And most patterns can be tuckerized now that Deb's kind of designed tools for all our basic shapes.
And not so basic shapes.
Yeah, and our not so basic shapes. But it does require you to kind of understand how to read the tool instructions and increase your square size or your strip size, or rectangles, that kind of thing. But yeah, so I'm excited to dive into that 9-patch square up and see how that works, and give it a go.
Now, Lynn, your block of the month, when is your fabric? When is that all rocking and rolling?
So my block of the month, which is over and under, uses that Tucker Trimmer one. The fabrics are starting to arrive now. So the earliest fabrics, these were fabrics that shops ordered last April and May. They're starting to arrive now. So the first shipment's coming out January, February into the shops, and then the second round will be the March, April timeframe. So many of the shops that I know here in New England who are running it or getting the fabric line and cutting kits are getting the fabrics more towards the end of March, early April, which Amy's Quilt Room in Uniontown, Pennsylvania is doing it. I am actually teaching it out of Middlebury. They're getting the fabric in, I think, right around the 1st of April. My program starts there on May 16th. I think it's May 16th. There is still a few spots left in that program. I am doing a morning and an afternoon session, so we can get the maximum amount of quilters through that. And so it's Garden Gate is the name of the fabric line, and it's very vibrant. And the pattern is just that Tucker Trimmer one. So you'll learn all of the fun things we do with the Tucker Trimmer. There'll be 5 techniques in that. And it's a 6-month program. It's a lap size quilt, and you're not betting the farm on it. You don't have to get one of those block of the month where I just don't really like it after the 3rd month and it goes in a box. I'm hoping that people are going to be thrilled with this, that they're going to like the 6 month, 5 hard months and a finishing month. So that's what's happening with that. That quilt's been back and forth from shop to shop. It's had a lot of interest, so I'm super excited. So I am not selling that pattern retail because I am honoring the shops that want to run these programs, and they're buying from me the wholesale. Because usually, that's the way I've decided to run my blocks of the month. We promote working with the shops to run them. The people are going to buy the fabric lines, run the programs, and then after that year or year and a half run is through, then the pattern will be available for retail for a person that just wants to buy it on my Etsy shop. But
I'm just going to jump in there and say, even though you can go on our Etsy site and grab the pattern and whatever, we survive because you support your local quilt shop.
Okay.
So if you are somewhere not close to either one of us and you would like our patterns, go to your local quilt shop and pull up a picture of the pattern and say, hey, I want this. And I'm really sure that my friends are going to want this too. And maybe think about pulling it in because, I have a Canadian distributor all over the country, sells my patterns all over the country, Erie Quilt Art. They can wholesale directly from me, but it is important to keep those local quilt shops going because it's hard out there.
It is. Every time we turn around, there's another one closing. A very, very long-term famous one in Vermont is going to be closing soon. So we're all going to be kind of sad about that. And last Saturday was Shop Your Local Quilt Shop Day here. So hopefully you did go out and support your local shop.
Yeah. So. Well, and for a lot of shop owners, I know here in Sudbury, we have a shop. The shop owner's done it, well, since I started quilting in the mid-90s. So, it's time for them to retire. And so the shop, if it doesn't get picked up by somebody, just ends up closing. So, supporting that local is important. That's where you're getting, your good batting, your proper threads, and the time and education that you can walk into a department store and buy fabric, but you can walk into a quilt shop and say, I need help. Right. And there's always somebody there very, very willing to give you a hand, figure out fabric, walk you through, maybe helping you pick out something, talk to you about batting, backings, the whole shebang. So I can't say enough about shop owners. And, Lynn and I don't have shop. I have a small retail space, but definitely not a shop. And those shop owners, I take my hats off to them because, it is a full-time job and you need a lot of support to make it go. So,
yep, definitely. Yeah. So they're part of they're an integral part of all of our worlds here. You as the quilter, us as a teacher or a professional designer, in this industry, we're all in the same community circle. And so we all have to support each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know, other than the big long list in front of me, that's stuff I need to do.
Well, what's really sad is you held up your umbrella pattern, and it was on my to-do list to have done by March. Not gonna happen. Because you know what? There's something else that needs to happen that trumps everything when I get back. So
I know
that's the other little needle in the haystack there. That's why I'm sort of being in advance of
both Carl and I are, in the thick of things, getting ready for our cruise in April. So, from finishing the instructions to finishing the sample quilts to getting ready to do all the kit processing, the cutting and processing and packaging. And so, there is a little bit of a project from actually, I think I'm going to try and get the umbrella done maybe while I'm at the Great Cape Escape Retreat. So I host it. I'm not teaching this year. It's the first time since I've been going to this retreat, I don't know, maybe 12 years now, that I am not teaching. It's enough work just to be a co-host on this retreat that I decided this year, with the cruise coming up behind it, that I was going to not teach anything. And there's all kinds of people that, with 135 people, you can imagine there's a lot of talented people in the room, and there are many people that teach, from a single technique to a project to, they'll do a lecture. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go. And so I think I'm going to get my posh spring done there. So,
well, I'll just, send you my fabric and you can do mine. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, my
projects.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure that's it for me.
Yep. I think that, I just want to give everybody that inspiration that tomorrow's the coldest day here in Vermont, and we're on the other side of that train. And get your spring projects out, pull out some bright fabric, put a smile on your face,
spread them all over your sewing room, and just live in the color.
Yeah, and call up one of your quilting buddies and say, or even if it's a knitting buddy, say, are you knitting a gray sweater today, or a purple sweater? Or a red sweater, talk about how color kind of inspires you to just be happy.
Yeah. Color does inspire you to be happy. Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're on social media, I don't post a lot anymore on Facebook. I just, every time I think about it, the opportunity has passed. I'm leaving my classroom going, I forgot to take a picture.
Pictures.
However, I do take pictures of my feet on the end of the chaise lounge overlooking the ocean. Now, it's not to rub it in or make you guys upset. It's for you to appreciate the many colors of the blue.
I can't wait. You're going to keep me going for the next 2 weeks thinking I'm still on vacation.
Yeah. What color are my fingernails, and do my toenails match the sand? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to the break. And if you're around our area, quilt shops, know that I have put posters in the mail for all the quilt shops out and about. You can always go onto my website if you want any information about anything at all. It's on there. And you need to call me. Don't call me till the middle of February. I'm back on Valentine's Day, and give me a day or two to catch my breath. And you can pick up the phone and call me at that point in time.
In the meantime, shoot me an email if you have a question about something. I'm hopefully will be answering my email in a timely manner now by the end of the week. And certainly drop comments in this if there's a topic or a question you have about something we said or something you want to know about. We're always looking for what is it that inquiring minds want to know in the quilting world. So think about it.
Things are chugging along.
Yeah.
All right. Well, glad you're back, Lynn. Again, happy new quilting season, everybody.
Right.
I'm so thankful that everybody was able to join in. Again, remember, this is videoed and recorded if you didn't get a chance to catch all of it, whatever. So, yeah. Thank you for joining in. Drop us a line. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button so that we can keep talking to you once a month. Our next chat is February 24th. That's in between. I'm back and you're gone. You're going.
No, I'm not going.
You're not going? Okay.
Nope. I'm gonna be home after the Cape. I'm gonna be home until we go on the cruise. So I'm gonna be home local, getting some stuff done. There's a bunch of different things going on, but yeah. So drop us a note. Keep that creative mind going. Hope you've been inspired by our little talk about bright colors and jump right into spring, even though it's the dead of winter. And certainly make it a joyful quilting journey. Okay. Do what makes you happy.
Got it. Yep. It's
okay.
Doesn't always have to be perfect.
That's right. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to love what you do. So till next time, keep stitching.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.